Okay, welcome back to my channel, and in this video we are looking at lock objects. So what are lock objects? Lock objects ensures that no two users overwrite each other's work, or two users cannot work on the same object simultaneously to ensure data consistency. So in this video, I'm going to be showing you definition of lock objects, the different types of lock objects, and practical aspects of there's a use case scenario of lock objects, how to implement this. And then we're going to write a logic to make this happen. So if you are interested in this video and you are interested in lock objects, you want to know how ENQUEUE work, how DEQUEUE work, then you want to use it like a professional, don't forget to subscribe to this channel and also hit the like button. Okay, so let's get started. Now, when we talk about lock objects, if you can see on the slide, the purpose is to achieve synchronization among multiple users. So if multiple users want to change the same data the same time, only one user can make this change. So that is where lock objects comes into the game. And so when you want to name a lock object using SE11 transaction code, so when we go to SE11, the ABAP Dictionary, so this is the lock object here. So if you want to give a name to the lock object, it must start with the prefix E. We can use the transaction code SM12 to view the existing lock object in this system. So this is my username and this is the client number. So if I click on search, so currently there are no lock objects attached to my username. So this is the place where you can check the lock objects in the system, right? So the lock objects are fetched from the ENQUEUE server, which is a part of the application layer, so it's not from the database layer, and they are temporal. So the types of lock objects that we have the read lock or the shared lock, while we have the write lock or the exclusive lock, and then we have the enhanced lock or the exclusive lock without accumulation. So let's look at this. So the requirement for us to see how lock objects work is this. So we want to develop a program that will change the payment mode. So this is the payment mode right here. We change the payment mode based on order number. Okay, this is the order ID based on the order ID from this order header table. So we want to simulate a situation such that two users cannot change payment method at the same time. Okay, so this is the simulation of lock object. So when one user is trying to change the payment method, the other should not change the payment method at the same time. Okay, this will ensure data consistency, right? Now let's do it. So we head over to SE11, the ABAP Dictionary initial screen. We select the lock object from the radio button. We give it a name. So the name should start with either EZ or EY. So E because it's a lock object, the prefix must be E for lock object. So we have, I'll give it EZZ, let's say underscore order number. I give it a unique ID. Then you click on create. We give it a short description. So we can say lock object for order ID, right? Okay, we save this. I save this to my package. If you have been following me, you know that I created a package in the system for my username. If you want to know how to create a package, leave a comment in the comment section. And of course, don't forget to subscribe if you have not done so. So my package is ZV5. So Control C. You can also save it as a local object. So we save to transport request. Yeah, before we save, actually, we need to give the name of the table that will be associated with the lock object. So let's call it the order header table. Now I'm going to use a search help for this. So if you don't know how to create a search help, the link will pop up on the screen. And also it will be in the description. Check my last video on how to create search help. So search help, click on F4, then we can use the package to search for, open my package, and then so we are looking for the table, which is the order header table, this particular table. is the table we want the lock objects to be applied on. Then we click on the lock mode. Now let's go back to the screen. So basically there are 3 lock modes. As you can see, we have the read lock, the write lock, and the enhanced write lock. If you click on the drop down, you see the write lock, the shared lock, the exclusive lock. So these are the 3 main types. Other ones you can play around to see how it works. So in this case, the read lock or the shared lock, what it means is other users can display that data, but they are not able to read. So this is the read lock or shared lock. Okay, so they can display the objects, they can display the data, but they are not able to read the data. Now for the write lock, other users cannot read or change the object. So, and it can be requested severally from the same transaction. We'll look at this in practice. Then finally, we have the exclusive, not cumulative. Okay, so what does this mean? It means it cannot be requested severally from the same transaction. We'll look at how this happens. So let's select for this our practical. We'll select the shared lock. What does it mean to be a shared lock? So shared lock means that other users can display but are not able to read the data. Okay, then let's save this. Ctrl S, save to my package. It's saved. So below here you see that the lock object was saved. So now we need to click on the lock parameter. Okay, so you select the primary keys as a lock parameter. So if we look at select the primary key, so the client ID and the other ID, which is what we want to test the lock object on, you select them. Then we save, we check for consistency, Ctrl F2, and then it says down here that no inconsistency found, and then we can activate Ctrl F3. So this is the order that this is the lock object we just created. So let's save this and activate. Now object has been activated. Okay, so now the thing is, whenever we want to create lock objects, SAP generates 2 function modules, which is the ENQUEUE underscore the object name. So the name we created was EZZ. This was the name of the lock object we created, EZZ order underscore 24. So whenever we want to create lock object, SAP generates 2 functions, and these 2 functions are what? ENQUEUE function module and the DEQUEUE function module. ENQUEUE and DEQUEUE. So what is the difference? ENQUEUE function module is used for locking, while DEQUEUE is used for unlocking. So when a user is actually working on the record, ENQUEUE locks in the user so that any other user cannot update the record at the same time. While DEQUEUE, because when the user leaves, the object needs to be released. So DEQUEUE is used to release that object so that other users can have access to that same object, right? And to view the function module, we can use the transaction code SE37. So let's have a look at this. I'll open a new GUI. So let's go to SE37. Now this is function module. It was EZZ underscore. So you could see these are the 2 function modules that were created. ENQUEUE, the lock object variable name, and DEQUEUE function module. Okay, so if we click on this, let's display this. Okay, so this is the code for the ENQUEUE, and likewise you could also check for the DEQUEUE. Then we can say DEQUEUE, this one, display this. Okay, now let's try to create a program that's the lock object demonstration for the payment mode change. All right, so what this will do is that when a user is trying to change the payment mode, another user should not be able to change this. So we want to use a demonstration for this. Okay, so let's create the program to simulate the demonstration for lock objects. And when we go to, let me say I go to the repository navigator or object navigator, SEAT. So I'll see my package. Okay, so inside my package, I can decide to create a new program. Right click on the package and then click on create, then select program. So I give the program name. So let's call this ZZ change order ID underscore 24. So don't select this create with top include. Confirm this. And so this pops on the screen. Select executable program. Then we click on save. I save to my package, save to my transport request. So the program has been created. Now we want to get the parameters. So the user should be able to enter parameter on the screen. And we define parameters using parameters. All right, so we are going to provide two parameters, which is the order ID and the payment method. So for the order ID, if we check the table, let's go to the table. So I go to SE11 /n SE11. So let's view this table display. So the order ID has, this is the data element for the order ID. So this is going to be our type for the order ID. So instead of payment order number, we can change this to P order ID of type data element ID underscore 24. We can also check for the payment mode. So the payment mode is this. It has this type as its data element. So this is data element payment mode. Then, so this is what will make it as a type. So I need a comma here and then a full stop here, period. Okay, so I save this and check for syntax, Ctrl F2. So we can see that no syntax error found in the report. Let's activate this. This is activated. So if you want to see what parameters mean, let's run this. Let's execute F8. So you see that we have on the screen, how the screen P order ID and P payment. So which means this is expecting a user input. So it's like in programming, other languages, this is user input parameters. So whatever value enters here is captured as the order ID, and whatever value you select here is captured as the payment method. Okay. Now, but we need to do one thing. We need to change this text so that it's more readable to the user using the data elements that we created. So instead of OID, we want it to show the data elements that was created. If you don't understand this, please check the video in the description, and that will also pop up for more explanation on data elements. So data element is what is used to process the field inputs that will be displayed to the user. So to make that change, what we need to do is you go to text elements. So select text element, then click on selection text. So these were imported, or these are the selection text. So you can mark this DDIC reference. So this will use the short description, the long description that we described in the data element. So let's save this, Ctrl S. So you see that it automatically comes out as order ID and payment method. So let's do Ctrl F2, syntax check, and then we do Ctrl F3 to activate the object. So object is activated. So if we go back to the program and hit F8 or this button right here, you see that the description is more readable to the user as order ID and payment method, right? Now let's go back to the ENQUEUE and DEQUEUE where the locking actually takes place. So, the first step is that we needed to create the lock object. So we'll give it a name and then attach the table we want to create the lock object to. Then secondly, we created a program where we are going to use the ENQUEUE and DEQUEUE. Okay, so now we need to call the ENQUEUE function, and you can call the ENQUEUE module using pattern. So when we click on pattern here inside the call function, so we need to pass the ENQUEUE function, ENQUEUE underscore the name of the program, and then click on confirm. So when we do this, it brings out all these parameters. Then we can uncomment all. Okay, so you can right click, go to format, and then say uncomment lines. So we uncomment everything and then pass in the order number into the ENQUEUE function. So the order ID is what we are interested in. This is the order ID. So we pass it into the enqueue function. Okay, order ID is equal to this, and you can leave every other thing. So remember, a period is here. Remember that this system variable sub sy sub rc, it returns a 0 if the operation is successful, and then any other value apart from 0, then it's not successful. So we need to give some error handling messages here. So we can say, we can write a switch case, and the case could be in this format. So when 1, we display this error message. So when 1, we display this error message, order is currently locked by another user, and the type of the type E means error. And when 2, system error during lock attempt, the type is an error type, and when others, unknown error during attempt. Then one more thing is that we need to update the payment mode. As the user tries to update the payment mode, we need to update this, right? We need to write the code for that. We use the keyword update, and then we need to give the name of the table. So our table name is ZZ order header table underscore 24, right? And then we need to set the payment mode. So we use the keyword set. So set payment mode into payment mode. So the value we receive from the user here, we set it as the payment mode, but we need to check from the table PM. So set PM equals to the payment mode, and we use a where statement where order ID is equal to P equals to P order ID. So let's save this. Let's do for syntax check. Apparently when we did a syntax check, there was no error found, no inconsistency. So can we proceed? So also we need to write an error handling statement here, so that when this is successful, we can say payment mode updated successfully. So we can say if the local variable for sub rc is equal to 0, then we need to display the message, and the message will be that payment mode updated successfully, and the type is success. So S means success. And then what is the else part of this if statement? The else part of the if statement is that else order ID not found. Order ID not found, or update failed, so type is error. And then we click on the end if statement. Click on the end if statement. Okay. So now after doing the enqueue to lock the object, then we need to unlock the object, right? So we need to release the lock. Then we need the function for dequeue. So we still use the pattern. You go to the pattern. So here, instead of enqueue, we put dequeue, the name of the lock object, confirm this, and it automatically generates this. So we can uncomment this, right click, format, uncomment lines, right? And then we pass in the order ID. Okay, we pass in this parameter here. We save this. And then we check, Control F2, Control F2, Control save. So syntax check. So no error found. Activate this. Let's try to run this. Or activate. Okay, active object generated. So let's try to execute. So if we click on F4, order ID does not have value help. Why is that? The order ID is not having a search help. Remember, we created search help in the last video. So we need to add the search help to the data element, so that whenever we use this data element, the search help will automatically come along with this. So let's go and fix this. Let's go to SE11. Oh, we're on a different screen, so let's do \n SE11. So let's go to data type. So what's the data type we are looking for? Let me go to my package. Looking for data element. Go to my package and search for the data element. I'm looking for order ID, this one. Click on change. Then we click on further characteristics. So in the search help, enter the name of the search help. Okay, let me get it also for my package. Please, if you don't know how to create a search help, look at my video on how to create search help. So let me go to my package and select the one that I have already created. So this is a search help that we created. Confirm this. So let's save this. Control F2. Okay, name or parameter missing. Okay, we need to select the name or parameters also. Yeah. So let's Control save. There's Control F2. So no inconsistency found. Then we can activate. Control F3. We want to activate the data element. So confirm this. Okay, so this is activated now. So let's go ahead to run the code once more. So let me go to my object repository browser. So the programs, I've created this. Double click to have access to the program. Now this is in display mode. So to go to edit mode, we need to click on this. All right, so let's execute this. Okay, we needed to change something. Search help. Change this. So this should be display values immediately. Let's wait. So let's try to execute this. So now we have the other ID as value help or search help. So if you click on one, we can change the payment mode to Klarna. So let's see what it is currently. So currently, let's look at the content of the table. Click on content. We click on this button right here. So order ID 1 has payment method to be credit card. So let's see if we can change it to Klarna if it works. So let's change to Klarna and then execute this. So it says down here that payment mode updated successfully. So let's go to the table and see if order ID is now set to K. So this is our table. Click on the content and click on execute. So now I see that it's updated to K. Now this is not where the lock object happens. So lock object is, can two users edit at the same time? Yeah, okay. To actually see this in action, we need to open the debugger mode to see the effect of the lock object, because each time you do the ENQUEUE and then at the end of the program, the DEQUEUE also runs. So you will not see the, have a feel of how to create a lock object. Of course, I'm giving you snippets on how to make these things, not go into full details. So if you need more explanation, leave a comment in the comment section. And I'm going to make this into a full video depending on the response I get, the subscriptions, the likes, and the comments. Thank you once again for stopping by to view, and see you in my next video.